Shri Shiras Viharini Ju Ki Jai. Sab Vaishnavan Ko Jai Shri Krishna. Raj Kishori Seva Trust continues the reading of Shiksha Patra, Shri Hari Rai Ji, Day 93, Letter 37, verses 1 to 3. Introduction. This 37th letter explains how one should be constantly aware of and thereby evoke the state of humility within devotion that is known as nisadanta. That is, recognizing that in reality one has no practice or means with which to win over the Lord, and that one must be essentially humble. It has been stated above that one should never worry, and that when you are devotionally humble you will attain the best devotional reward. This chapter describes how to cultivate such an attitude. Verse 1. I do not have pure sentiment towards the Lord. I do not feel his presence everywhere. I have no humility nor readiness to follow Sri Acharyaji's instructions. I do not really believe in the path of grace, and I have no respect for the Lord. Thus I am devoid of means to reach him. In this state, what will the Lord do with me? This is the appropriate mode of mental rumination. Tika 1. Sri Hari Rai Ji now writes that when a devotee reaches this state of humility and devotion, then the Lord will definitely reward them. Now are listed 32 different ways in which the humble devotee recognizes their state of nisadanta. I know that one's love for the Lord should be pure, and this would gain his blessings, but I do not have this pure love. In fact, my mind is full of hypocrisy, deceit, jealousy, and other foul emotions. I do not feel the Lord's presence everywhere. Sri Acharyaji has written in his Chatur Shloki 4 verses of instruction. The Lord of Raj Shri Krishna is to be worshipped at all times and with every last one of your inner feelings of love. I am unable to follow these instructions and fail to serve him in this way. I might do it with my body, but my mind and senses are not engaged therein. Even if I think about it, my body and actions do not follow suit, and my mind, speech, actions are not entirely dedicated. That's the second way. Carrying on with 3. Even if I can't do any of these, I should at least be humble, whereby the Lord will be pleased. Sri Gosai has written in his Vigyapti treatise, our Sri Acharyaji had advised us in his Nibandha that the single way to please the Lord is with humility, but I do not have such humility. I am also incapable of following Sri Acharyaji's instructions to please the Lord through my adherence to the ways of this path of grace as gleaned from his writings. That's 4. This path of grace names the Chartaka bird as the supreme example of total faith, and faith is essential to perfect our dharma, but I am devoid of such faith. 5. I also lack the respect and most elevated kind of love for him that keeps the mind exclusively riveted upon him. 6. Verse 2. Continuing with these 32 different ways in which the humble devotee recognizes their state of nisadanta. Verse 2. I do not have good association, established service to the Lord, remembrance of my dedication to him, surrender, wisdom, patience, nor total refuge in him. Tika. Even if I have none of these qualities, if I were to have good association with accomplished devotees on the path of grace, then I could still know the fruit of this path, but I do not have such association. 7. As a result of such good association, the mind would be applied to serving the Lord 24 hours a day, from which the state of absorption into the Lord's service with one's mind, heart and consciousness can arise, and which is the perfect reward of this path. I find myself unable to serve the Lord with my body and mind, let alone with my consciousness and innermost heart, a state which is very difficult to attain. In this path, service is the be-all and end-all. If a Brahmin does not recite his Gayatri mantra, then his Brahminhood dissolves, and if a Vaishnav devotee does not serve the Lord, then their status as a devoted servant of the Lord also dissolves. I do not have it in me to serve the Lord. That's 8. In this path of grace, the devotee needs to examine their quality of surrender and dedication. In his Navaratna, the 9 Jewels treatise, Sri Acharyaji has taught, you should repeatedly remember your surrender and dedication to the Lord in the company of accomplished devotees. I have neither the company of such devotees, nor do I recall my dedication. 9. The ultimate practice is to fix the mind in a state of exclusive refuge to the Lord. Sri Acharyaji has taught in his Viveka Dharya Ashray, Wisdom, Perseverance and Refuge treatise. In the weakened state, know that Sri Hari is everything, and so perfection arises from taking firm shelter in him. I do not have such firm refuge in Sri Krishna. One should have discriminative wisdom. Again, Sri Acharyaji has written in his Vivekadharya Ashray treatise, true wisdom is the understanding that Sri Hari will accomplish everything according to his own and his own devotee's wish. Thus, a Vaishnava devotee should always cultivate the mindset that it is Sri Hari who achieves everything and not the embodied soul. I do not have this mindset. That's the 11th. Note. Attached to this part of the verse which explains Sri Krishna's title of Sri Hari, in the Mahabharata it is written, I take away the sins and sadnesses of those souls who remember me. I also take away my share in sacrificial rituals, and my favourite colour is green, Hara, so and so I am called Sri Hari. The root of all wisdom, therefore, is that when Sri Krishna is known as Sri Hari, it is because he removes the devotee's sorrow. A devotee should be tolerant of both joy and sorrow. Sri Acharyaji has stated in his Vivekadharya Ashray treatise, perseverance is being able to equanimically tolerate all types of difficulties of mundane, spiritual and divine origin until death itself comes. The examples of such tolerance are buttermilk, King Bharata, the gopis and the gopa's wife mentioned in the story told by Sri Gokulotsavji. An embodied soul must cultivate a realistic and detached attitude to the body. When a devotee is able to persevere in the face of all these types of difficulties, then the Lord becomes pleased. One should have the same rock-steady tolerance as the great devotee Prahladji. I do not have this type of forbearance in me. That's 12. There is a note here to explain the above-mentioned 5 examples of perseverance. When buttermilk is churned, the butter, its essence, is extracted. But the buttermilk itself tolerates this and remains unaffected. In the same way, you should perform actions for as long as your body exists, but without any attachment to your body or your temporary relations. 1. Jada Bharatji was taken in front of the goddess Bhadrakali to be slaughtered. He remained resigned to his fate and was not fazed by the situation because of his full faith. As a result, the goddess appeared from within her deity and killed those who were forcing Jada Bharat to be sacrificed. The gopis of Raj had no attachment to all their worldly or religious status and tolerated patiently the terrible pangs of separation from the Lord. The gopa's wife mentioned above was kidnapped by a king. She killed him to return to her husband, whom she found bitten by a snake, so she left that place and became a prostitute. She slept with a man who turned out to be her son and then fell into his funeral fire. Returning as the wife of a cowherd, she realized that crying over spilt milk was a waste of time. We are bound to the material body through feelings of I, me and mine. Until these ties are broken, then the only way to attain the final reward is tolerance and perseverance. That's the end of the note. Shelter in Sri Hari is described by Sri Acharyaji in his Vivekadharya Ashray treatise. In this world and the next, always resort to Sri Hari. In grief, loss, sin, fear, the non-fulfillment of desire. When you have bad feelings towards other devotees, or if there are no devotees around, if devotees oppose you and each other, whether you in a powerful or powerless situation, in all such states let Sri Hari be your only refuge. This way of refuge is also shown in Sri Acharyaji's Sri Krishnashray treatise, Refuge in Krishna. I beseech you, Sri Krishna, who uplifts those who have taken shelter in you. When you surrender totally to Sri Krishna, then he will uplift you. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ji, the Lord tells Arjuna, leave all other paths and simply surrender to me alone. Do not worry, for I will liberate you from all sinful activities. This type of surrender surely invites the Lord's grace. I do not have such surrender in me. That's the 13th. Verse 3. I am in no way inspired by the Lord's greatness, and I have no love in me, so what to speak of nurturing attachment or addiction for him? Tika 3. You can develop love for the Lord when his greatness inspires the heart. Through the power of his grace, the Lord Shri Krishna granted the highest devotional reward to the simple and innocent Nisadhan devotees of Raj, the cows and the cowherd maidens. He liberated the simple Ajamil just because he called out to his son, whose name was synonymous with the Lord's, at the time of death. By slaying the demon known as Putna, the embodiment of ignorance, he enlightened his devotees in one fell swoop. In this path of grace, beings who are normally considered inferior in gender and caste are uplifted by Sri Acharyaji, by the tiniest receipt of whose glance all the devotees' activities are purified. Knowing this, what fear can I possibly have? But this realization of his greatness and power I do not have. One really sure way of pleasing the Lord is to cultivate love in the innermost heart. There is a process which progresses through loving affection for him and then attachment followed by addiction to him. When this occurs, you will experience him. I do not have any love for Sri Krishna's lotus feet, let alone attachment or addiction. When do love, attachment and addiction occur? Sri Acharyaji explains in his Trividanamavali treatise the three types of names. When you read of and recite Sri Krishna's childhood pastimes, you develop love for him. When you recite his youthful pastimes, you become attached to him. And when you reach to where you recite his kingly pastimes, you will have developed addiction to his lotus feet. Therefore, anyone who wishes to cultivate devotion should thus recite all his names and pastimes. From this I know that I should apply my mind and heart to such recitation, whereby I could definitely attain the reward of grace-filled devotion. In his Bhakti Vardhani treatise, How to Increase Devotion, the scriptures pronounce the seed of devotion to be sown where there is love, attachment and addiction. I have not even any love for the Lord in the heart. 15th. Thus I do not have attachment to his feet. 16th. And so I cannot really even speak of reaching the level of addiction to his feet or any other worldly feelings. 17th. We'll take rest here at the end of verse 3, and having read the 17th reason for a lack of humility. Continuing tomorrow with verse 4. So today is day 93, letter 37, verses 1 to 3. सब वैष्णवों को जय श्री कृष्ण। आज के आनंद की जय हो।